All right, I'd like to welcome you all to our presentation this evening. We have some exciting things to share, and we have to go over it very quickly because there's a lot. So you may want to take some notes, jot down some questions. We're really happy that Dr. Bruce Hyde is with us, and he's going to be joining in. I'll share kind of the main concepts, and then he will add in some commentary and some other thoughts, and then answer questions at the end. So we're really happy to have you with us, Dr. Hyde. So kind of what we're talking about tonight is called biohacking, but it has to do with something called nutrigenomics. You know, most of us know about supplements where we try to take vitamins, antioxidants, and different things that we think our body needs. But tonight we're going to be actually talking about how to kind of tweak our DNA to get it to function the way it is supposed to, which can do some amazing things for our health and actually for aging as well. So what I'm going to share is kind of like when you have a set of dominoes, each getting larger and larger. When we tip the very first one, which can just weigh a few ounces, it can start in a chain of events that can continue to do more and more things throughout our body. So that's kind of what we're going to be referring to tonight. For me, this started several years ago with an experience with my wife, Terry. She had a couple of times some life-threatening health issues. And the last time, just about 4 years ago, the doctors said that she really only had a few months to live. And they offered no medical help for her, nothing that could be done. Our elders and pastor came to our home and did an anointing service for her. And our pastor shared this quote, which was really meaningful to us. Those who seek healing by prayer should not neglect to make use of the remedial agencies within their reach. It is not a denial of faith to use such remedies as God has provided to alleviate pain and to aid nature in her work of restoration. And for us, that gave us hope that, you know, maybe since medicine didn't have anything it could do to help, maybe there was still some natural remedies or things that we could find. So Terry did a lot of research. Of course, a lot of people are sharing ideas because they loved her and wanted to help her. And at times that could be overwhelming. But one young lady, let me see if my PowerPoint stopped here. This young lady in the middle here from Michigan called. Our son is there on the right, and they were good friends in high school. She called and wanted to share something with Terry, and so she started explaining something that was really exciting that her dad had shared with her. And Terry decided to give that a try. And basically, it was a product called Protandim. I didn't know anything about it other than that Melody had called her from Michigan and was sharing it with her. And she started taking this product. And incredibly, only given a few months to live, that's now been 4 years. And we are just so grateful. And it took me a couple of years to finally decide, you know, what is this Protandim that she's been taking? Because, you know, nothing else that I knew of could have this effect. So what I'm going to share with you is kind of my research on what I found out about what this Protandim is and that we want to share with you. So first of all, I just wanted to ask this question to Dr. Hyde. Can Protandim cure disease? You know, I know it helped my wife in an incredible way and other people, but is it actually curing diseases?
Well, Protandim is 5 herbs together. And the last I checked, no plant has a brain to think about a problem, to solve a problem. But plants have properties that complement our body and how our body works. So they work because in essence they belong. Okay. But when you talk about a disease and a cure, you're thinking about a process of discovery and then a intentional effort to make a correction. And no, these products don't have the ability to cure. But because they belong, they promote the well-being of the system. They help the system work according to its design. And so we call these wellness products. And a wellness products helps you get well. And when you have less and less disease or more and more wellness, it's kind of natural to say, oh, this is curing my disease. But really, we want you to understand it is not actually problem solving in that direction. It's problem solving in a different direction. It's helping you to be well. And the more well you are, the less diseased you are. So people do get well with wellness strategies, but the reason is because they're supporting the normal process of the body rather than directly addressing the problem that is throwing off the normal function of the body.
Yeah, thank you. It kind of, the illustration I like to use is like in this picture, you know, a Band-Aid is not curing a wound. It's just holding the skin together and allowing the processes that God already built into the cells to function, to give that skin wellness again. Mm-hmm. And so like with my wife, you know, what it did for her was brought her wellness and had the body do what it's designed to do. But we do want to comment up front before we kind of get into this that Protandim is not claiming to diagnose, treat, or cure, or prevent any disease. It's just designed to help the body, like Dr. Hyde said, to find the wellness that the body is designed to have. So they have found that there are three main theories of aging and continuing to have good health. And the first is dealing with free radicals. The second is the mitochondrial area. And the third is a new one that I hadn't really heard before, and that's called sirtuins. So I'm going to kind of run through these briefly. The first being about free radicals. Free radicals cause something called oxidative stress. And I had never really thought about it, but you know, we see apples and different fruit and things oxidizing on our counters. They end up rotting before our eyes over a matter of time. The same thing is going on in our cells. We're having cells that get these little free radicals bombarding them, and they are causing what we call oxidative stress in the cells. So we get those free radicals from a lot of different sources like pollution, microwaves, radiation from phones, fumes, chemicals in the grass, chemicals in the food we eat. Even when we exercise, we're kicking out free radicals. And something I didn't realize, but there are over 200 diseases that are related to oxidative stress. Every system of the body has, when there are oxidative stress kind of overwhelms it, results in some kind of health issues. I actually work for an eye surgeon, and he came to me one day and he said, "Do you realize that macular degeneration, cataracts, glaucoma," he said, "they're all caused by oxidative stress." And I said, well, I had seen that, I'd read it, but I was, you know, it was very interesting for him to tell me that. But yeah, there are just diseases in every single system of the body. I don't know, is that blocking the bottom view there on the screen? So the way people have been fighting oxidative stress and free radicals is something that is anti-oxidation. So we've all heard of antioxidants, and I've heard of it for many years and never really thought about what they were, just that it fought something bad in the body. But it's actually trying to combat this oxidative stress that we end up having. Even our bag of cat food that our cat is eating right now has this, says antioxidants help support a long, healthy life. But I really didn't know what they did. We've heard of fruit, some different types of fruit, like blueberries are really high in antioxidants. For example, a cup of blueberries has about 10,000 antioxidants in it. So, you know, they're really good for that. The ratio is that one antioxidant will wipe out one free radical. So that cup of blueberries would wipe out 10,000 of those free radicals, which is really good. But unfortunately, there are over 300 sextillion free radicals in our body every day. And we know we have like, what, 30 or some trillion cells. So if you do the math, that means every cell has about 100 billion free radicals every day. So that cup of blueberries is not going to go very far, even in one cell. In fact, you'd have to eat about $3 million worth of blueberries a day to be the equivalent of that many free radicals. And I don't know about you, but that's not really something I can do or afford. The reason we're not all dead because we're not eating $3 million worth of blueberries is because there are antioxidant enzymes in our cells that can eradicate 1 million free radicals per cell per second. So that is what can give us hope with combating those antioxidants, those free radicals. But unfortunately, our body is producing fewer and fewer of those as we age. And we all recognize as we get older, things in our bodies don't work as well. Well, on the cellular level, our body isn't producing as many of these things as we need. So for the last 30 or so years, they have been trying to find ways to activate those enzymes in the body without success as far as drugs go. So a number of years ago, a small health company decided they were going to try to find ways to activate those naturally. And what they came up with then is what we call Protandim, which is actually, like I said with the dominoes, the Protandim gets into the bloodstream and goes next to every cell in the body and kind of just rings the doorbell in every cell, kind of tripping over that first domino. That Protandim knocks on the door or rings the doorbell and activates a little receptor, which in turn activates this protein called NRF2, which in turn goes to the DNA, and it actually turns on and off genes. And those genes then produce another reaction for what we need in our body. So like I said, it's kind of like a domino effect there. The result then is that Protandim can reduce oxidative stress in a body by 40 to 70% in just 30 days. That is really unheard of because regular antioxidants they're finding are actually very ineffective because when they wipe out a free radical, they're actually becoming a free radical themselves. It's kind of a matter of stealing electrons from other little things in the cell, and it's just not getting anywhere with oxidative stress. So to have a product that can actually do that, and the way it's working, of course, is by activating those 30 trillion cells in the body, to each one be producing more of those enzymes. So the ingredients that this product has are here: milk thistle, bacopa, turmeric, ashwagandha, and green tea. And some of you have probably heard of some of these, maybe even take them as a supplement or use them in your food or whatever. But in their research, it ended up having to be a specific ratio of each of these because none of them individually would actually activate those enzymes. And so we recommend if people do take Protandim that they should wait at least 4 hours before taking any of these others, either as a supplement or eating food. Actually, you wouldn't need them as a supplement anymore, but recommend waiting at least 4 hours so you don't mess up the synergistic effect. And by synergy, what we're talking about is that the action is greater than the sum of all the parts. So we take those 5 ingredients by themselves on this chart. You can see they basically do nothing to activate these enzymes. But when you have them in that specific ratio, the end result is an 1,800% increase in producing those enzymes than any of those by themselves. So it's pretty incredible. This study was published in the Wall Street Journal when Protandim was developed, showing that it did increase the enzymes by at least 40%, reducing oxidative stress. And ABC News saw that, and they had a program called Primetime Investigative Report that went around the country and tried to expose scams and schemes and snake oil, things that were not realistic. And when they read that study, they decided to do an investigative report. And they came and they did a study. This gentleman that was the lead investigator took a blood test, and he came back in only 2 weeks, and his oxidative stress had been reduced by 45% in just 2 weeks. If you'd like to see that investigative report, we can send you the link if you give us your email address, or you can go to nrf2biohacker.com and watch that video along with some other interesting information. But it's quite an incredible video. And immediately after that was aired, a lot of universities and organizations saw that and decided to do their own studies, spending millions of dollars on their own research in finding out what it could do for different things in the body. In fact, Louisiana State University did a study where they made it into a powder and put it on skin and saw that it reduced skin cancers. Ohio State University did a study where they were studying inflammation in heart stents after bypass surgeries. National Institute of Aging did a study to show how it could extend life. Anyway, so a lot of organizations and schools, universities did these studies. One of my favorites, since we live in Washington State, is the Washington State University study they just did a few years ago, saying that the health effects of NRF2 may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. And for me, we saw this personally with my wife, with her health being restored, living now for 4 years beyond what she should have lived. But then I saw that preventative part and I thought, you know what, I'm getting to an age where I would like to prevent a lot of these diseases that can sneak up on you. You don't feel it, you know, they can happen. In fact, the first sign of heart disease is a heart attack for half of the people. So, you know, we really don't want to wait until some of those kind of things sneak up on you. You can do some study on your own and see research the studies going to a couple sites like pubmed.gov or scholar.google. Scholar.google. I typed one in like oxidative stress and diabetes. Is there any relationship between those? And you can type in various things. This is just an example. I found 1.7 million results in just that one little search. It doesn't mean there's 1.7 million studies, but connections between those two concepts. So, you know, if you're able to reduce oxidative stress, hopefully, you know, it can make an impact on various things in your health. Multiple Sclerosis Journal did a study between 3 different major drugs and Protandim. It was a $50 million study, and in their study, they found that actually Protandim did better than the drugs that were being tested against. So a lot of different, I'm only giving you a few samples, but a lot of different studies were done on Protandim, and you can find a lot of those, like I said, on a website called pubmed.gov. It's interesting, if you take any supplement that you're taking and go to pubmed.gov and type that in, very unlikely you'll see studies about it. But with Protandim, there are like, I think 26 on pubmed.gov. There are many more studies, of course, but these are very high peer-reviewed type of studies that can make it onto that website. So like I mentioned, the NRF2 does regulate genes when it gets to the DNA. Over 500 of the, what they call the survival genes. And this is a kind of a depiction of about 30 or 40 of the genes, how they express themselves. We don't know exactly what all of them do. Some of them have been defined, but you can see some are really high, some are really low. When the NRF2 is working the way it is supposed to, when they're regulating normally this is what it should look like. But you can see that there's quite a difference when our bodies are kind of out of tune, when the NRF2 isn't activating like it should. So Dr. Hyde, I wanted to give you a chance to kind of follow up any thoughts you have about NRF2 activation in our bodies. We'll get you unmuted here. Okay.
Okay, what I'd like to explain in kind of simple terms is what this is really all about. You know, when you burn wood in the fireplace, the smoke goes out the chimney and out into the air and dissipates. And when you burn fuel in your car, it's similar. The exhaust is released into the air and it dissipates. But when these free radicals in the cell are produced, they don't just go out into the air. They get stuck in the cell, actually in intracellular fluid. So this is really a real perplexing problem, because these free radicals are very irritating. They're very damaging to the organelles in the cell and even to the membranes of the cell. And all this injury at the cell level is very irritating or inflammatory, okay? So the protandem, NRF2, activates at the cell level the production of these enzymes. And these enzymes are like a vacuum cleaner going up, sucking up dust. You know, a vacuum cleaner can suck up 1 million particles of dust every second, and we can comprehend that. Well, it's kind of hard to comprehend how an enzyme can take up 1 million free radicals a second, but that vacuum cleaner analogy helps you conceptualize it.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay, am I coming through okay?
Yeah, it was my cell phone.
Okay. So it's really a phenomenon that as these enzymes basically clean up the cell is now free to function without hindrance and without all these irritants. And so and in all the cells in the body. Okay, now later on, we're going to talk briefly about some other products that have the NRF2 technology. And one of them is called Axio, that is very targeted to the nervous system. It turns out that the protandem NRF2 actually impacts the entire body, but not as direct on the nervous system. It will have an effect, but it's not as direct. So it's a little more subtle and a little more gentle, a little and slower, but it has its impact. But Gary is going to share more about some of these other examples and how their targets actually have huge impact as this technology is targeted.
Okay. Thank you. So yeah, so some other applications of NRF2 activation, and I realize we're just kind of flying through this really quickly, so you may want to do a little more research or ask us some more questions and things, but so the NRF2 activation was developed about 15 years ago. So in the years since, they took some of the technology from some of those studies like Louisiana State University and so forth, and designed some products that can help in specific areas. For example, since Louisiana State University showed the benefit of putting it on the skin, they realized, yeah, we really should develop something to have NRF2 activation for the skin. So there's a series of skincare products. And you can see a few pictures here of some of the results of people using those on their skin. The gentleman down here at the right looks like he's had a stroke, but actually he used some of the skin products on one side of his face and not the other. But this is a whole lecture by itself to go into all depth about the skincare things, but just want to mention that they are incredible products. Also, they have developed some NRF2 activated hair care products. So I know back in the day when my wife was doing a lot of research, she would tell me, you shouldn't put all those parabens and all those chemicals in your hair because they absorb right into your scalp. And I thought, well, I just get the cheapest stuff down at the store, and you know, that's all I was really worried about until I started doing research. and started realizing how dangerous all those chemicals are when they get into our bodies. So I was really excited when they came out with these products that are really healthy and they actually work. And the scalp serum actually helps hair follicles that still have life in them to be healthier again and start doing what they're supposed to do. So that's exciting. A lot of really great, and this, you know, these hair products are really incredible when you're using them too. I really enjoy them. So this is what Dr. Hyde was talking about, some NRF2 activation for the nervous system. They developed a kind of a, you might call it an energy drink, but it is a drink that can get that NRF activity directly into the brain and the neurons. And I'll let Dr. Hyde kind of talk a little bit more about this Axio drink and getting that activation in the brain.
Okay. Well, we have a lot of different ways that we might describe neuro irritation. Okay, it could be called depression or anxiety. It could even be different aspects of dementia, including dementia-related behaviors. It could be related to pain, chronic pain, inflammatory health aspects. Okay. And I actually work with a health patients, okay? And we have the privilege in a variety of different adult foster care homes to actually utilize Protandim and Axio together. And the impact is extraordinary. I could tell you a story about a Parkinson's patient who was already on 4 different medications and still poorly managed. And now in an adult foster care home, you know, for his final years or final months. And when we added these 2 products, basically his movement disorder, in spite of the meds that persisted. So the movement disorder persisted in spite of the meds. With these 2 products, it almost entirely went away. At rest, he had no movement disorder. When he would make efforts to move, you could see a little, but it was nothing like it used to be. And, you know, basically, we're not thinking about the disease. We're thinking about, do we have a way to help the neurons? The neurons are, you know, the smallest unit of your nervous system, whether it's in the peripheral nerves or if it's in the brain or in the spinal column or midbrain in between. And Axio, it comes in 5 different flavors, 2 of them without added caffeine. But this product quickly gets to the nervous system. And just as we were doing house cleaning in the cells as it related to Protandim, this does the same thing to the neurons. And you probably have that, that brain mapping, those brain mapping pictures, right?
Yeah.
Coming up, okay. Yeah, so when you see this impact on this child that they did brain mapping on, it was because of the use of Protandim and Axio that this boy had quite a remarkable, dramatic actually, response. And we have seen this over and over again in many different applications. I have a coworker and that person was having problems with a headache that just wouldn't go away. And I gave 2 of these Axios and I said, okay, mix one up and drink it. 15 minutes later, do it again. You know, in like 20 or 30 minutes, she says, I don't have a headache. So I'll tell you, try it, you'll like it.
All right. So yeah, looking at the brain mapping Dr. Hyde was talking about, a neuroscientist was introduced to these products, and he wanted to see if they really worked. And he did brain mapping for the last 25, 30 years. And so he took a young 15-year-old boy that had extreme ADD. And over on the left half, you can see some brain maps with a lot of red and blue. And he took those scans. They mean extreme activity going through this boy's brain. And then he gave him the NRF2 and Axio and another thing called NRF1 that I'll mention in a moment here. He gave those three to the boy for 12 days. And he did the brain mapping again on the right there. And he was stunned. He said he has never seen anything like this. And he said he could tell this is happening in the cellular level of this boy's brain. So he was not only going to use these products himself, and he said, all kinds of people share different things with me, try to get me to take or, endorse or whatever. But he said, this is something I have to share with people. So not only did the boy's brain mapping change dramatically in those 12 days, but the teachers at his school who didn't know what was going on, about the testing, they started telling the parents an amazing change in this boy's behavior. So we've seen a lot of things like this happening to different people, but this was really interesting that it was scientifically mapped out and depicted here. They also found that animals, especially like dogs and horses, have NRF2 pathways in their bodies. So they started doing some research with them. You can see a lot of really incredible videos on YouTube if you type in protandem in dogs or protandem in horses. And we have a lot of personal experience with people and even our own dog that have had some incredible benefit with using this. And one interesting thing a veterinarian told me, because somebody had shared this with him, was he tried it on a little dog that was really arthritic, could hardly walk. He wanted to see if this stuff really worked, and he knew that dogs don't have a placebo effect. They just eat it, and if they like it, that's great. But they don't know it's supposed to help them feel better or anything. And he sent me a couple of videos of the dog before and after. And that little dog was running around and jumping, and it was pretty incredible. And that happened to our dog as well. So yeah, if you have an animal you love, this is specifically formulated for dogs, but dogs and horses can take the human NRF2 just fine. So that was dealing pretty much with the free radical aspect of aging and disease and health. The next step, and these last two will be a little bit shorter, but is dealing with the mitochondrial facet of our health. And for those of you that can remember back in biology in high school or college, you had to draw the little organelles in the cells. One of them that we had to draw and learn what it was is the mitochondria. And after studying the NRF2 pathway, they started realizing there was another pathway called the NRF1 pathway. There are actually a number of different pathways in our cells, but they found that the NRF1 pathway, turning on those genes, affected the mitochondria. And so they started doing some research again, like they did with the NRF2, and found a way to activate the NRF1 pathway, which could not only strengthen, but multiply the mitochondria in our cells. And for those of you who don't remember, mitochondria are like the engines of our cells. They produce the energy, turn the food into energy. And I'll let Dr. Hyde explain a little bit more about mitochondria, what they do, and what this does for them.
Okay, well, you see on that second line, the three letters ATP, and that stands for adenosine triphosphate. And that is the most dominant energy delivery molecule in the cell. Okay, so at the cell level. And in our culture, we're always taking a sugar drink or a stimulant of some kind. And this NRF1 aspect of protandem like you said, Gary, increases not only one way that we find this is very, very helpful for those who use this product is with their sleep. So you might think it's actually just the other way around. In fact, when you're sleeping, you need a lot of energy for the purpose called anabolism, which means to build up or restore. When you're awake, we're kind of wearing ourselves down and we get tired by the end of the day, and that's called catabolism. And so we go to sleep, and if we sleep well, we wake up restored and refreshed, and that's anabolic, okay? And that process, even though you might be unconscious, your body is definitely very active in this repair mode, and it takes a lot of energy to do that work. And this is where this Protandim NRF1 is very helpful. Another one, just real quick, is toward the bottom. It says it activates cell apoptosis. And apoptosis is a word for cell death. So you're familiar with the concept of cell turnover, and certain cells turn over faster than other cells, okay? Like every 7 days, you get a new gut lining, okay? So the bad cells need to go away. They don't need to hang around any longer. And apoptosis is saying to those old cells, go away, be done, okay? And so rather than the potential for increased malignant cell development, you know, increasing apoptosis means those bad cells, those old cells, those tired cells are done. They're not causing any further function, but they're also causing no further problem, okay?
All right, so like I said, they did develop a synergizer to activate the NRF1 pathway. And it also is a combination of 5 herbs like the NRF2 was. They did study until they could find, you know, a specific combination that synergistically activates that NRF1 pathway. So that is the second of those 3. The third is one that is just very, very recent, just within the last couple of months that it's come out. They've actually been studying it for years, but it has to do with something in our bodies called sirtuins. And basically, sirtuins are a family of proteins, and I've heard in some places that they are another set of genes that play a role in aging by regulating cellular health. And they're responsible for critical biological functions like DNA expressions and so forth. But again, like the others, mitochondria and our, the enzymes in our cells, they decline as we're aging. So to activate the sirtuins, there's something else. We had the NRF2, the NRF1, but in this case, it's called NAD. And it's a little molecule in the cell that when it's activated, it will go and tweak the sirtuins. So there's a couple ways you can tweak your sirtuins to get them going better. One is called caloric restriction, and that is basically starving yourself to death. And apparently the body kicks in when it's starving and produces more of these sirtuins, which have a very, very beneficial health effect, probably keeping the person alive. Dr. Hyde may have a little more explanation on that, but it will increase it by 94%. However, this product, this synergizer that has been developed also with herbs, all natural, actually increases the sirtuins by 100% in 24 hours. Other competitors have tried to supplement the NAD, but it's only about 2% increase. So doing it this way is actually very beneficial. So these are the herbs that are used to activate the NAD, create a synergistic effect, which then kicks in the sirtuins. So Dr. Hyde, I don't know if you've had a chance to do a lot of study on the sirtuins yet or not, but what can you tell us about this?
Okay, well, from my biochemistry many years ago, we learned that there are basically three energy delivery molecules in the body. One is the ATP, which we heard about with respect to the NRF1 in the mitochondria, making ATP, adenosine triphosphate. But now with this third protandem, they call it protandem NAD. And NAD actually represents another energy delivery molecule in the body. And it not only produces energy, but it also is essential in certain metabolic steps that occur in the cell. And so here we have an example of a product that activates the body to make this second energy delivery molecule. There's actually one more, it's called FADH. So maybe we'll see down the road another protein called FADH. But yeah, I don't know a whole lot about sirtuins yet. I'm learning, everyone's learning. It's kind of a new word. I never heard about that before in my biochemistry. I don't know if medical school chemistry classes are even talking about that word yet. It's not a common word, but we know that it is, what we do know so far, that it's definitely linked with how your body functions in wellness. And we do know for a long time that if you are kind of calorie lean, you're going to have better health, you're going to have a better immune system. And we live in a culture and a society that pours on the calories. We have too many calories, but not enough nutrition. So when we go calorie lean, it doesn't mean that you're starving to death. That's just what people think is going to happen. But to go calorie lean might actually be to go nutrient rich. Because like, for example, a plant-based diet is not generally high calorie because it's high fiber, but that whole food has good, excellent nutrition in it. And so we've known for a long time that people who follow a plant-based diet are kind of in a calorie lean program. And it definitely correlated with more advantages to your immune system and a lot of other advantages to less chronic degenerative disease. And you see here on this list, benefits, okay? And really it's like the benefits of exercise, you know? And here we are talking about an activator of another energy delivery molecule in our body. So it's exciting. And what I'm learning is that the recommendation to take all three protandems at the same time really peaks the benefits that are available. And because all of these products do not compete with their ingredients, it's actually possible to take them all at the same time.
Right. Yeah. And, one thing I've been hearing and watching some is a researcher actually at Harvard University studying the sirtuins. And backing up here, right here actually is a quote from him, Dr. David Sinclair, Harvard geneticist. And you could go to YouTube and type in Dr. David Sinclair, Harvard, and sirtuins. And he does some really good descriptions of what the sirtuins can do as far as health and longevity. He is doing research on trying to find a drug that can activate the sirtuins. And so it's pretty exciting that we have a natural way to activate it. So just a little side there. And we have shared this with people who, of course, we shared the other things and many, many stories, but it's interesting with the NAD. It had some really good responses from people feeling a lot more energy and mood enhancement. I have a coworker that she and her boyfriend have been trying it, and they are just so excited about it because it's really boosted their mood and energy and so forth. So basically there are these three powerful synergizers for each of those categories that we talked about. The NRF2 can eliminate free radicals, take care of the oxidative stress. The NRF1 helps with the mitochondrial issues by strengthening and multiplying the mitochondria and all the positive effects that has. And then this third one that just has been released is activating the NAD, which is making the sirtuins active. So each of them do some incredible things on their own, but what they have found in doing some studies is that people that use all three have an even more incredible synergistic effect when the three are used combined. Here is a brief study. I won't go into all the details, but just they took a sample of a couple of genes in each category. Like in the NRF2 genes, they picked 2 of them. And with the NRF2 activator by itself, it had a good activation. But when somebody used all 3 of these, it increased the activity in those genes tremendously. And then in the NRF1 category, a couple genes where it really increased when using all 3, and also in the NAD. So each one individually is really great for what that category is. But if a person can take all 3, and like Dr. Hyde said, they can all 3 be taken together. None of them, they don't conflict with each other, but they actually have an incredible synergistic effect with the combination. So Dr. Hyde, you want to talk a little bit about people seeing, feeling things, what they feel, maybe detoxing or whatever?
Okay. Well, when you actually start cleaning up the body, the irritating stuff needs to come out, and mobilizing it may cause you to be symptomatic. So you might feel worse before you feel better. We tell that idea to everybody, even though most of the time with these products, people do not really have much of a detoxing problem. But you just never know until you put it to the test. And, if you stick it out, usually it doesn't last long. I've heard people benefit by taking more vitamin C for a few days, or, definitely good to push fluids and, eliminate faster. Yeah, every person is a unique individual, and how they respond is going to be unique as they are. But generally speaking, these products are quite well tolerated. And I know people have talked about the Protandim NRF2 causing some heartburn. And what I have found is that if you don't swallow it quick and all the way into the stomach, it may have some effect in the back of your throat or in the esophagus, where you just feel like you're burping something for longer than you want to. These products, I find you can take them well with food. The Protandim NRF2, for example, is better absorbed if it's actually taken with something that has fat in it. Like avocado or nuts, or just something that has fat with it. And yeah, when I take these products, I swallow all of them at one time, not just one at a time. I just swallow them all at one time. And then I drank some water to make sure they made it all the way to the stomach. And it goes well.
Great. And we've noticed some people, that take the NRF2 and NRF1 may not necessarily feel a lot different right away. And, they may have some health issue that they're hoping it will deal with. And, different bodies react differently. But we do suggest when people start that you write down a lot of the health concerns you may have. And then over time, it may take a month, a few months, several months, a year or two. But you'll notice a lot of these, the body is able to, when it's improved the removal of oxidative stress or increase the strength of your mitochondria, you might, you'll start seeing some of these things go away that you didn't even realize. I know I had a sleep breathing problem where I would stop breathing. And my wife, did not like that. And after a few months of that, she goes, that sleep problem is gone. And I was very surprised. I wasn't even thinking of something like that, being affected. But, when our bodies are able to get back to wellness, it can take care of a lot of things. We have noticed the NAD that people do notice generally something much sooner, how they feel. But I personally am not taking this just to feel good or better, although I feel good. I'm taking it for my definitely long-term health effects as well. But yeah, I do sleep better. I find sleeping really deeply is great. So
am I still connected?
What's that?
Okay, let me just make a comment that the NRF2 protandem, usually in a month's time, people realize that they are benefiting. If you give the NRF2 to an animal, you will see them transform in the course of that 1 month. Okay, with the Axio and the NAD, protandem NAD, the results can happen within the day.
Yeah. So people are a little disappointed sometimes if they take NRF2 and suddenly they don't feel like all their health issues are gone, but it can take a little time for the body to react. And like I mentioned, we don't always notice things on the inside of our bodies until it can be too late. We have so many stories we could share. We're not going to take the time, and we want to be careful that it doesn't sound like we're claiming it cures everything in the world. But, when the body, all the cells in the body become healthier, it can help a lot of things. And this is a text from my sister-in-law who had some major health issues. And she and my brother went to Israel after she had been using Protandim, and she sent me this text. And she said, I have to tell you, the Protandim has kicked in. My energy is incredible. We're in Jerusalem, and I'm beating everyone up the hills. And they were there for 3 months during 3 weeks, during a hot spell. And the cane she had been using is now hanging on their wall that she doesn't need anymore. So she's really excited about that. And that's part of the reason we want to share it. We do want to give a quick warning. It's very dangerous to buy health products off the internet. Sometimes you can look there and may feel like you can save a few bucks, but our company does not allow distributors to sell it there. So the only people selling on places like Amazon and eBay are either counterfeiters, and there's a huge problem with that in America nowadays, drugs and all kinds of health products being counterfeited, or criminals that are doing it unethically. So we just warn people that's not a safe place. There's no quality control. You can't get your money back or go back to the company or anything. You're just taking your life at risk or just losing your money at the least. So we do want to encourage people, to live a healthy lifestyle. We are in a very toxic world, and we've known a lot of people that do live healthy lifestyles that are still getting some of these major diseases because there's just something missing, either in the nutrients or the air we breathe or whatever. So yeah, live a healthy lifestyle, exercise, eat right, and drink water and get sunshine. But we're in a toxic environment, and so we need something that can help go beyond that. This company does have a commitment that every product is all natural, non-GMO, no artificial colors, sweeteners, flavors. So it's a very high quality, and they do a lot of really extreme quality control. If you would like some other information on an ongoing basis, we've just kind of flown through this in a short time, but we have a Facebook page that a number of us share a lot of really interesting things as we go along. And if you would like to get on that page, you have to be invited to join. After we share this with people, we usually find 3 types of people. First of all, those who would like to use these for themselves because they have some health issues or want better wellness or prevent some of these health issues that come up. Also, a lot of times when we share, we're thinking of somebody we know or love that could really use something like this. And I know we haven't been specific with any, a lot of certain things that this can help. But in doing your research or talking to people personally, you might get some more of those ideas. And we're happy to share with other people directly. Often somebody asks me to talk to somebody directly, share some things, and we're happy to do that. We also, number 3, find people that would like to join us in sharing as a distributor, because they want to, find people and share it with them. There's a lot to learn, and we're happy to help train people. And it can be a way, of earning an extra income if you work at it. So one way to share is that we do try to do the Zoom pretty much every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. And Dr. Hyde and I used to do this this last year fairly consistently. But over the summer and up through this fall, we've been gone, or he's been gone, and this hasn't really worked out. But we're going to try to get back on track as much as we can. And if I can't be here, I try to have maybe another person share. So the great thing about Zoom is you can invite somebody clear across the country to join in, and go through this brief presentation with them. We also have meetings at our house. Sometimes people feel like they need to hear it more than once because we've kind of flown through it. Some of the words, a lot of new vocabulary you haven't heard of before. So some people like to go through it and listen to it more than one time. So we try to have meetings at our home here in Walla Walla, Washington, pretty much weekly, and people can come or bring friends, and we do the discussion presentation also on Zoom every Sunday that we can. So why do we share this? Mainly we do it because we want to help other people. With what it did for my wife, and I really didn't go into the details, but saving her life, we feel like we really need to share it with people and let them know. And we've seen over the last year and a half that we've been sharing it, so many lives changed, so many benefits to people's health. This lady on the left here, Sandy, she's a person that, because we shared it with a friend, Sandy lives in Tennessee, and so her sister shared it with her, sent some of this across the country to her, and it totally changed her life. So things like that are so rewarding to us that that's why we share. And when we have more people helping us as distributors, I could share maybe with 10 people a month, that's 120 a year. But if I have 10 people helping me, we can reach 1,200 a year. Right after this was developed, it was sold in stores, pharmacies across America, but it cost twice as much on the shelf. It was like $80 a bottle rather than $40 that is sold for now. And also people didn't know what it did. They look at a bottle, had no idea. So it's something that needs to be kind of explained. And that's why they ended up, after 4 or 5 years, turning to having direct distributors share it so you can explain it to people. And for those who do decide to join us as a distributor, you can just invite people to things like this Zoom to share it with as well. And also for business reasons, people can use it to pay for products. If you want to get your own, but you can't really add it to your budget, if you share it with people, then you can get some income, and we can talk to you about that. Pay off medical bills, which we needed to do. Working from home, going on mission trips, preparing for retirement. Those are reasons some people like to become a distributor and do this kind of as a side job, or some people even as a full-time job. And this is the compensation summary. As people stick with the company and work through it, they can earn more in 2 to 5 years. You can get up to the premier or elite ranks, even if you're faithful with working at it. So if you would be interested in any of the products, this is a screenshot of our web page. So our link is, you can see it up here in the top, kind of small there, thehaggies.lifevantage.com. But there may have been somebody that invited you to come tonight, and if they're a distributor, they would have their own link. So you would type that in, and you just want to make sure the name and picture comes up there. And then to order any of the products or actually see more, and we didn't even actually cover all the products that have been developed, but there's a lot of really great stuff. But if you want to look at those products, you click on Shop. If you want to join us as a distributor, then you can click on the Join Us over on the right. But we do like to talk to you a little bit about that first, explain things. And you can talk to us or to the person that invited you. And for our contact information, we want to give that here. So you could write that down. If you do want to contact us, you can email us. joemkeh@gmail.com, or give us a call, 509-876-4348. Our website link up above there, thehaggies.lifevantage.com. And we're happy to share a lot more there. We could overwhelm you with videos and studies and all kinds of things. So if you would like any more information, we're happy to share that or whatever. So at this time, I'm going to end the recording, and I'm going to give you a question or an opportunity to ask questions of Dr. Hyde. So let me stop the recording.